the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. It is a balmy 72 degrees up here in Michigan, and normally that wouldn't make the podcast, but I just want to point out it is like 50-something in Arizona right now. So I don't know what's going on with this crazy world, but everybody's going a little goofy this week.
Yeah.
So, as always, I'm Jen, and with me is Bryan. Hey, Bryan.
Howdy.
How has your week been, and how are you dealing with these wonderful temperatures?
I've really enjoyed it's shorts weather still, and it's November.
Right.
And we're in Michigan. Normally by this point of the year, I'm still wearing shorts, just not outside, and inside the house I still wear them. But it's funny though because the room I sleep in, I switched rooms this week, but it's still hot.
Right.
But because of the temperature, like at night, I've been able to leave the window open, so it hasn't been quite as bad, because it's getting to like 50 and 40 at night, so it cools down, and then when it hits 70 in the daytime, it's not like, ridiculous or anything. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with, my normal allergies and stuff for this part of the year. Has still been pretty awful, but.
And that's kind of what I was thinking about, because when it's weird, because I get anxiety, like anxiety fits and stuff, triggered by warmer weather and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people do, because when you get anxious, you tend to essentially, your blood pressure goes up, so you feel warmer. Right. So, yeah, makes sense.
So, this has been a great week for me, which, after I had my reboot, has been pretty successful. So,
right.
my reboot has really helped my overall mood and stuff. And the warm weather's been nice. And thankfully, I really haven't had much anxiety, due to the odd weather and stuff. But
yeah,
hopefully it stays that way. But I know it's supposed to drop again coming up real quick.
Yeah, like tomorrow, or what? Not tomorrow, Saturday. It's supposed to be like the highs are really like 50. So
yeah,
and then
which is still nice. For this time of year.
That's like normal for this time of year.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's like over the last week, we've had 2 days where we either set records or tied records for highs, and then we're hitting our normal for the weekend. And it's funny because, the way I always love, the local weather, because they're like, oh, we got, a big cool down coming this week, and, it's going to be that, and it's like, they make it sound like it's terrible, and then I'm like, oh, how bad's it going to be? And I look, and I'm like, it's still going to be like mid-50s next week. That's awesome. Like, for
usually
me,
we're hitting 30s and stuff.
I love like the mid-50s weather kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, because honestly, I tend to like it around 60 to 65 because I still will wear shorts at that weather. Once it dips under 60, it's it's a little harder outside,
Yeah.
But I still love it because I still don't have to wear a coat. I can wear a t-shirt, or I can wear, wear a couple t-shirts and I'm good. I don't have to get into full coat weather. So, yeah, it's, because, again, it's November. Usually about this time, it's like, well, time to dust off the coat,
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna have snow soon, yep.
Yeah, I've yet to get my winter coats out, which is a great thing.
Yeah, I've worn I have a fall
complaining.
coat, a fall jacket that I wear. I've worn that a few times, mostly because I've been, when I wore it, I was going out like after midnight when it's at its coldest almost,
Sure.
But,
And so it's been interesting. Unfortunately, it's still not quite warm enough for bikes, for the motorcycle, but, because that's kind of 69, which, 69 dudes.
Right.
But it's usually the cutoff point.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anything below 69, it gets too cold when you're hitting like 40s, 50s miles per hour. It gets a little cold. But above that, you're pretty good. But this time of year, because the weather still has a chill in it, even if it is in the 70s, it still kind of has a little bit of a chill. So when you start going fast, it gets really cold real quick.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be a bike popsicle. It's no good.
Right.
No good bike popsicle. But, so that's the only bummer is that, the bike's put away for the winter. So on the beautiful days, it can't get out. But.
Yeah. There's a couple of people who live around here that are still getting their last days out. Well, actually, the one guy I think drives it year round.
There's some there year round.
But you see him; he's like severely, covered up and everything. Like I don't think he wears a helmet most of the time. But when it gets to be winter, he starts wearing a helmet. Probably just to keep air off your face more than anything. Yeah. Yeah,
because it gets cold quick.
Yeah.
And you literally are a frozen popsicle. You will freeze to your bike because it gets cold real quick when you start getting the faster speeds. And if there's any precipitation, like rain, snow, anything like that, man, rain hurts so bad. I mean, thankfully, I've always been most of the time on the passenger, so I'm almost always the passenger, so I've got a built-in rain shield.
Right, you have a human shield, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, which helps. But it seriously feels like someone's pelting you with rocks.
Yeah, which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it hurts so bad. But anyways, enough weather talk.
Yeah.
How have you been doing this week? I know you said last week was a little bit of a rough week for you.
Yeah. My anxiety seems to have calmed down some, but I think I've still had a lot this week, enough that I've put off phone calls I need to make, like scheduling appointments and stuff, and I've put it off. I need to do it tomorrow, and I keep putting it off and stuff. And so I think there's that element to it, that even though I'm not feeling the anxiety as much as I was, clearly it's still having an effect, because I'm not just getting up and doing what I need to do. I know I need to do it, but I just go, I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow. I don't feel like it now, and it's become a problem.
Sure.
There's times where I wish that I had an advocate that could just do this for me, an assistant. I could just here, make these phone calls for me, and just
exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of it stems from that over the last few weeks too, as I've made phone calls and stuff, that you just get a runaround sometimes, and it just adds to it. You're on the phone for a few hours. I think I talked about it last week. You're on the phone for a few hours and you get nowhere, and it's so frustrating that then it's I still have 5 things that I just don't even want to bother with any of this,
Right.
So.
Sure.
Yeah. But I need to do that. And, I mentioned last week that, my doctor might want me to see a psychiatrist as part of my treatment, and they confirmed that. And, but I haven't made the appointment yet.
Gotcha.
And it isn't that I'm I don't want to go see, because I'm whatever. It's, that's what I need to do. I'll do it. It's just, at the same time, it's, one of the most frustrating parts of dealing with this is that first step. Just being able to just take that first step. And all I have to do, my phone is next to me all the time.
Right.
So it isn't like I have to do anything unreasonable to get to a phone to call somebody. I just need to do it, And with the psychiatrist, it's probably just calling my doctor's office, and because I think he's in the building they're in, they have like a mental ward, or not a mental ward, I mean a mental health section. You know, where my psychologist is, and I think the psychiatrist is over there as well. So if so, it's all in the same. You know, it's all in the same building. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to do. Theoretically, it's easy to do. Yeah,
in theory,
yeah.
It gets tough. Yeah, I've been putting off stuff that I need to do. Like, I have a broken tooth that I've had for...
That you mentioned on the show, I think, didn't you? Like a few weeks ago, or...
Yeah, it's been broken for 3 months? 4 months?
Yeah, that's something you certainly need to get taken care of, because you don't want it to be worse.
Exactly. And it's just, I mean, basically a filling fell out. So it's technically not broken, but...
Well...
I've got a hole in my tooth.
Yeah, which can turn into a broken tooth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been chewing on one side of my mouth for
right.
for months now.
Yeah. I understand. I remember when I broke a wisdom tooth, and I had to do that because I didn't have insurance. So I didn't have a lot of choice.
And that's the thing. And I have insurance. There's no reason whatsoever. Yeah. I've just been avoiding it.
Yeah.
So I need to go. I need to do that. And I need to go. I haven't seen either one of my doctors, and I need to go see both my doctors because I'm running out of refills on my meds and stuff. So I've got to do that. So it's just there's stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
I just need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
I can't even claim anything like, I've been so busy. I've been so busy avoiding it. That's
about it. So busy avoiding it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well,
so, something I wanted to talk about this week is, well, first of all, give you guys a wedding update, because I know everyone is just chomping at the bit to find out more about my crazy wedding stuff. But I did get a hall booked, and which includes a caterer, and the bar is taken care of, and the DJ's taken care of, and table decorations are taken care of. So got a very, very, very large chunk off my shoulders, which was nice.
Awesome.
Yes, so I got that taken care of. I've got the combining financial situation taken care of. So hopefully, now that our dollars are living together in the same account, that they will be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
That is my goal. Multiply like rabbits. So we'll see if that works in my favor. Probably not. But let's, hopeful. Hopeful that they'll multiply. So that's another stressor off my shoulders. So things are calming down as far as my perceived stresses that I'm putting on myself.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. And work is settling down. And it's interesting because I don't know if it's work's changing or if I'm changing. And I think it's a little column A and a little column B. Mm. And part of it is things are getting a little bit easier there, but I also think I have let go more of the control aspect of things. I'm just letting things flow, and it just seems to be getting easier that way.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, so this could work too. So yeah, so things are settling down, which is good, and I'm feeling really good. I need to start expanding my world again, because my world got really small during basically my crazy bout of, I guess, bipolarism that I went through. So I really shrunk my world down, and now I need to start expanding it out and start doing more things and getting things going. So that's kind of on the agenda, to try to start filling up some time again versus just moping in the house. So things are going good. But one of my conversations I had, and actually was spurred on by my best friend, who's dating a gentleman now, and she does not have any diagnosed mental illness or anything, but she does have some anxieties, especially when it comes around dating. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it that she has anxieties around dating or insecurities around dating?
I think it's insecurities that lead to anxiety.
Okay. The reason I ask is, going back to choosing your words, I'm just trying to make sure that we're wording this correctly here. Okay.
Exactly. So, and it just, and a lot of these things are, as with most of the stuff we talk about when it deals with mental illness, a lot of the aspects are very relatable to everyone.
Right.
And it's just the extremeness of them, like how far.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you have mental illness, things go to extremes.
Well, yeah. Again, depression. It's like, I don't want to get out of bed, and everybody can identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's.
But but we've been talking a lot because she's seeing someone who's a really, really great person and a very, very great guy, but he is a guy, and no offense to men out there, and I am going to generalize, so I apologize, but guys have a tendency to be not as attentive as women necessarily would like, and it can be very hard on the ego and can be very difficult to control anxieties and things.
Yeah.
Now, this can be said on both sides of the fence. But usually in relationships, there's one person that cares more earlier on than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more invested. So when the other person doesn't provide what the expectations are, it can make things very difficult.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, just the way people communicate can make it seem more one-sided than it is, too. Because some people are, like, on their phones texting all the time and expect a response the way they would respond, which is immediately. Exactly. And other people they have their phone, but it's not their life. So they're only on it, and then they do some other stuff, go, oh, yeah, they get on their phone, oh, I should respond to this. And that it feels like a communication breakdown, but it isn't. It's more,
it's learning the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially when you're early on in dating, it's difficult to learn the other person's expectations.
Yeah.
Because then there's also the fact that you don't necessarily want to be 100% open with your expectations because you don't want to scare somebody.
Yeah, you don't want to go like, hey, how come you never respond to my text, or it takes you a while to be like, oh, well, I'm just really, that's just not me. I'm not blah, blah, blah,
right.
kind of a thing.
Like,
you just be like, well,
I need it.
It's really important to me. And it's like, wow, needy much? That's what,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you don't know how it's going to be received.
Right.
You don't want to scare somebody. So
Sure.
There's just a lot of potholes.
But at the same time, you do have to find that spot where you do have to talk about, and I'm going to say the word rules in the context of, not that they're actual rules, you know what I mean? But like we've discussed before, when things change, when the rules change, you have to discuss them with people. And really early in a relationship, the rules are evolving. You're learning and such, so you kind of have to, if you do need that person to contact you back sooner, like you just kind of tell them, say, hey, I get a little anxious, blah, 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 whatever. You can do it without sounding full on crazy. You just have to be careful.
Right.
And you can't ever use the words of, well, my ex, because then they're going to go, you've got issues, peace out.
So it's finding that balance. And I found something I saw on Facebook really resonated with me and prompted me to do a little searching, and I did find an article that I want to share with everybody. But what prompted this was on Facebook. I'm just going to switch over to that. Yes. Something. No, I don't want to know about zombies.
Maybe.
I want to know about anxiety.
People do come to us for zombie news as well.
Exactly. Okay, cute kitty post, cute kitty post, cute kitty post, cute kitty post. Oh, okay. So, something else unrelated that I want to share with everybody. Depression quotes on Facebook is really, really, really good at, some of their memes are awesome. Mm-hmm. One of the memes that they posted earlier today that I retweeted, or
shared,
shared, was, it's a woman walking down the road, walking down a road, and the title says, I have a massive fear that no one actually likes me. Rather, everyone is just politely tolerating me, hoping I leave them alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so true in so many ways. That was pretty much my entire high school.
That's honestly, I've never stopped feeling that way.
Yeah, and it's something that people with depression and anxiety that's a norm.
Yeah, for me it certainly is.
Yeah. So it's something I really relate to. But sorry, that was a tangent. The post that got me was a copy of I guess an article of some sort, but it says things not to do when dating a girl with anxiety. Now, I honestly feel this could be girl/guy because I think it applies on both sides of the fence, depending upon the person.
Yeah.
But number one is do not wait hours to text her back, thus leaves room for her anxiety to kick in and her mind to overthink. Overthinking kills her confidence and jeopardizes your relationship just based on what she is thinking.
Now, I will say this, and this is probably going to be a good statement just for this whole thing, is that if you know the person has anxiety, this all is something to keep in mind. If you don't know if the other person has anxiety, you wouldn't know that, and that's where we've talked a little bit, about at what point in the process do you tell somebody?
Yes,
that
exactly.
But we'll that's a whole other show. But like I said, so it's one of those, if you're dating someone you don't know they have anxiety issues, that's why, like I said before, it's like there's probably ways to communicate to the person, hey, maybe don't wait all day to text me back. It's kind of kind of rude. It really, like if I called you and you didn't call me back for hours, a lot of people used to be like, well, I was at work or what, okay, whatever. But it's like, if it's like a Saturday and the person doesn't call you back for hours, you're kind of sitting there going, why aren't they calling me back? Do they not want to talk to me? It's so,
and this is a big one for everybody. It doesn't even have to be someone who has anxiety issues per se.
I agree.
Because, honestly, everybody out there, especially guys, you think the girls are going crazy and you don't understand these crazy chicks, this is probably your first place you want to look. It's if your girl is going off the deep end and is just acting like a fool, stop and think about if you've let her mind, if you didn't fill the gap and you let her mind overthink things and get wrapped up in the anxiety and stuff. So you kind of have to just keep that in the back of your head. So if your girl's going nutty, just think about your communication style. Well, have you not been communicating enough with her? Yeah,
and this is simple enough in that if someone texts you and you respond, let's say you respond right away, and then they text you right back, and you're sitting there going, I can't do this, I got this and this, like, I'm at work or whatever, just respond to the person. Like, it's one thing if you absolutely can't, if you are in a business meeting or in a situation where you cannot respond, hey, whatever. But if you can respond, you just fire a response back, like whatever, like, hey, I'll text you later. I can't, like I'm swamped or something. You just do something like that, just so the person knows. Again, just change the rules. Kind of change. The way conversation works is generally, one person says something, the other responds, and this is a conversation. Texting is half conversation and half phone call. So it's like. You have to treat it more like it's a conversation than anything, and because that's the way most people look at it,
Well, it's
one thing if they hit you up on Twitter or something, in a DM, it's like, well, whatever, you just respond when you respond or something. But
it's half phone call, half email.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that some people view it as like an email that you just can respond at any point.
Yeah.
Some people view it like a phone call, like, a conversation, like you were saying.
It also doesn't help that there's read receipts on text. If I shoot someone a text and they have an iPhone, it'll say read, and I'll be like, why didn't they respond? So that certainly can add to the whole situation. Like, they took the time to look at it, but couldn't take 2 seconds to fire back okay, or
exactly, or the one my fiance loves the most is just the letter K.
Oh yeah.
So I'll do, I'll do text. I'll get a K. text. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Smiley face. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Can't really talk. Got it. But, you know, it's so... yeah, again, it's communications and expectations and things.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing, I think, from both sides of this fence is A, if you have anxiety issues, be aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going on in your head is not reality. What's going on in your head is anxiety and overthinking.
Yeah.
And don't let that take control.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to make you look like a crazy person.
Yeah, because you're projecting on somebody.
Exactly.
Like, if you are a person who responds immediately, you're projecting that they should also respond. And again, you know, courtesy would dictate that they do. But, you know, there is always an element of that maybe they can't. Or maybe they don't want to. You know, I'll be honest. There's a lot of times that even via text and stuff, I just don't want to bother. I just, I'll look at my phone and be like, you know, I'll respond later. I just don't feel like it, you know, so... Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conversation. You just got to make sure that you understand expectations and stuff, and making sure that's set.
Mm.
Now, the second one is do not ever let her think she is unloved. Whether it's a simple goodnight text or a random compliment, these little things put a person with anxiety in a more relaxed state. And again, I think that's pretty standard across the board for everybody.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's just being nice. I mean, it really is. You're in a relationship, you just, you know, hey, I'm about to go to sleep, you know, I'll talk to you in the morning, you know, whatever, and you know, that kind of thing. And who doesn't like to wake up and see a good morning message from somebody they're into, you know? I mean, it's...
Absolutely.
It's just, you know, it's just a nice thing to do. The only problem I have with this concept is it shouldn't... You have to be careful because, I don't know, like... In the event that you forget or you fall asleep somehow, it's like, you know...
Right, exactly.
Then it becomes a bigger issue. Like, he always texts me good night, you know? It's like...
He didn't this time. What's going on?
Yeah, so...
There's boundaries, and you just got to be careful, and like you said, communication. But you want to win brownie points, fellas, all you do, you just put super busy, thinking of you, can't wait to see you soon. Talk to you later. Boom. She knows that she's loved and thought about. She'll be grinning ear to ear, showing all her girlfriends her phone, saying, look how sweet he is.
Mm-hmm.
She won't respond back because you said you're busy.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to have a long, drawn-out conversation. Boom. There you go. Brownie points. Everybody's happy. No crazy girl.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that, it takes just a couple seconds of your time can save you so much in the long run. You know, and be careful because this is what players do. So you got to be careful. You know, you don't want to turn it into a game.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot to be said for that little stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it helps to reassure and avoid the mind taking over and playing games.
Yeah.
So, number 3. This is really, really important. Do not poke fun at her illness. She understands it sounds crazy, but she does have it, and when she can't do much about it. This is where you need to step up and make sure she knows you're going to be by her side through whatever crazy things she has made up in her head. So when she does go crazy, you guys, or when he goes crazy, gals, don't, you know, maybe make a few little jokes after the fact to kind of lighten the mood. That's no problem. You know the audience, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But just never, ever, 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 ever say to somebody, did you take your pills today?
Yeah. Seriously, it is on the same level as saying, are you on your period?
Yes.
I am not exaggerating. It is so close to that.
It is so insulting.
Yeah.
It is so, I mean...
It's so dismissive and condescending.
Oh, it's awful. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had people do that to me so many times.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my...
Are you having one of your episodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
My immediate response is, I have to say it, folks, sorry, fuck you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly what comes to mind. It just makes me want to fly 2 birds in their face and say, back the hell off.
Yeah.
You want to see an episode? I will show you an episode.
Right. It's poking the bear is what it ends up being. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like you were trying to make light of a situation. I understand. But
there's ways to do it. You know, like, that is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
you know,
that's just you being crazy again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, and there's ways of joking about it and stuff, because my fiance calls me his batshit crazy girl.
Yeah.
You know, and
But if you were in the middle of a manic episode,
right,
and something, and he did that, you would certainly probably not appreciate it very much.
No. Because
what you need at that point is understanding and help. And you know, if a person sounds like they're being dismissive,
mm-hmm.
you know, like you're going through something, and it's just like, oh, that's just you and your you know, whatever, you know.
Equivalent of walk it off when someone
It
like,
really
when
is.
You twist your ankle and you're seriously hurt, and someone says, "Oh, just walk it off."
Yeah. Now,
You know,
granted, a well-timed walk it off is hilarious, but
oh yeah.
and I actually believe when you twisted your ankle really bad, I think I did say rub some dirt on it and walk it off.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But but again, you knew I wasn't. There was no way I was meaning that. So
again, with a lot of things, when you're trying to be funny, know your audience and know your timing.
Yeah.
Because timing in the audience is a huge factor.
Yeah, and well, not to, you know, and especially in a newer relationship, being dismissive or seemingly being dismissive of a person's mental issues, probably not in your favor. You know.
Yeah,
So,
not usually a good choice.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they end with, she needs consistency because without it, her mind wanders to all the worst possible outcomes. And that again is something that's pretty universal. Whether you have anxiety or not, most of the time when left to our own devices, we do have a tendency to lean towards the worst scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, it just does.
Yeah.
You know, like my friend and I were talking, and as she was kind of going down this path, she hadn't heard from him in a while, and she's already going to the conclusion that maybe he's just not interested in her anymore.
Sure.
You know, and
well, yeah, because you don't, you know, if you're really into somebody, why would you put a gap of time between
seeing them,
contacting
and
them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not typical. That's not, you know, that's not what most people do.
Well,
yeah.
I would disagree, though. The more I've talked to people about relationships and stuff, it is pretty typical for guys, especially in the beginning, to go a few days without contacting the other person.
Yeah, because you're trying to not be, I don't know what the word for it is. I get, for lack of a better term, you're not moving too fast, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, and trying to manage the speed of the relationship.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, you know, I think that is becoming pretty typical from what I've understood and what I've heard from different relationships and different people I've spoken to.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
you know,
and the only reason it seems dangerous, honestly, is because it's like, well, he said a lot of really nice things to me, and then we spent time together, and now we didn't. So it's either one of two things: there's someone else, or you know, like,
right.
And I'll be honest, it's more of a concern than it probably ever was, because the internet is like, you know, spinning the wheel. Like, you can find people so fast and keep moving, you know?
And people's attention spans are very short.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And you can just go, and just move to the next person. I mean, Tinder exists. That's all Tinder is basically spin the wheel and see if you have a match. You know? No? Spin it again. You know, that's really almost all that app is. You know,
and it's scary when you're putting yourself out there in any aspect, and you know, and you really feel like you're hanging on a tightrope.
Basically, the way the internet has been going, it makes people feel replaceable.
Yes, that's
like,
very true.
Really replaceable, and it also gives the image to people that if you're not 100% perfect, like perfectly happy, there's another option. Like, boom, here's your next option. And then the problem is that that's not how it works for a lot of people. It really isn't. You know, it's the grass is greener kind of thing, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe the grass wasn't. And I've already burned that bridge.
Right.
So, you know, yeah. It's weird how, I can understand, though. You go a couple days and you don't talk to somebody. I can see where you would probably be a little concerned that you did something wrong, or did I move too fast? Did I say something I shouldn't have? Did I, like I said, in my head, I would just, I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. Yeah.
Me too. And, and that's one of the things that, I've told her multiple times is that, my fiance and I, in the beginning, he's not a big texter.
Mm-hmm.
He works nights and I work days.
Yeah.
We'd go almost a week without seeing each other.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy.
Yeah.
I was constantly have to gut check myself. I was constantly having to say, slow your head down, girl. This is all in your head. He's working nights. You're working days. It's not unusual for you guys not to be able to talk. I had to constantly just reassure myself and fight through all of those feelings all the time, consistently. I can't tell you how many times, especially in the beginning, that I'm like, oh, I guess this was fun.
Yeah.
I guess he's not interested.
Yeah.
I guess this was fun for what it was, and it's time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to get past that.
Yeah. But there is an element of that in that when you recognize that you are enough, like strong enough on your own, that you don't need someone else, you can go whatever. If they leave you alone for a couple days, honestly, have a time frame in your mind. If you don't hear from a person, consider it whatever and just move forward. Say, well, I contacted you. I didn't hear from you for a week, so someone else asked me out, and I said yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to,
you were gone.
Yeah. If you want to be part of my life, you can't go a week without talking to me. That's not cool. Like we live in a world where, unless you want to go a week without talking to somebody, there's no reason because even working day and night, even if you're not a big texter, if you're really interested in somebody, you can send them a text. Then when they get up, they can go, oh, they sent me a text. And you can both know that even though your time frames aren't compatible, you can still communicate because of telephones, because of these amazing devices we all carry. So I said, in my head,
everybody gets lunch hours, everybody gets breaks.
Exactly. Listen, everybody takes a dump. And who doesn't take their phone with them anymore? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there is zero excuse if you want to contact somebody. There's no excuse for it.
Well, and that adds to anxiety.
I know. That's my point. Yeah, is that
because somebody is in, there are two sides of the fence. Because one side of the fence, the person's going, there's absolutely no excuse why they couldn't contact me. On the flip side, the other person's like, why do I have to be in constant contact?
Right.
Why do I have to always tell you exactly where I'm going? We're just starting today.
Right. And honestly,
I should be able to have my freedom.
Early on, a couple of days really isn't that big a deal. Like I said, if it's a week, 2 weeks, that's pretty much probably them just brushing you off, or something came up.
Right.
But like I said, I think at that point you just if you set yourself up to be strong enough on your own, and then you set a time. Like, I'm not going to let them wreck me with this anxiety for 2 weeks. I am not going to let somebody do that to me. I'm not going to allow myself to do that. Like, I'll give you whatever your time frame is. If it's 4 days, 5 days, whatever. If you don't hear from them, maybe you fire off one more and say, listen, I haven't heard from you. I just want to know what's going on here. Yeah. If you're done, cool. If not, also cool, let me know. And then if they still don't respond, give them like a day. If they don't respond from that point, move on. And if they come back into your life, then you can deal with it at that point. I just don't think again, it just goes back to me telling people not to give away your control. And that's really what you're doing. The longer you let somebody set you, the longer you sit there and allow it to eat you alive, you're not in any control. And the best thing you can do is just take your control back and move forward. Say, hey, you're lost. Just keep going. I know it's easier said than done, but if it's early in a thing, it's, whatever. It's a lot easier.
It's easier said than done, and it's tough because you've got to be able to take a step back and understand what a rational response is and what an irrational response is, and know if you haven't heard from somebody in 2 days and they text you to say, hey, what's going on? If you immediately fire back, where the hell have you been? You haven't texted me in 2 days. And,
right.
And start like,
oh, you are still alive. Yeah.
Right. Start unloading on them.
Yeah.
They're never going to want to talk to
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to find that balance,
Mm-hmm.
and you also
no. What you do,
opportunities.
The easiest thing you do, which it's hard for a lot of people to do, is if they go 2 days and then they respond to you, you give it some time before you respond back.
Yep.
That way you turn it on them a little bit, just because then if they say something, you can kind of be like, and it isn't about playing a game here. It's if nothing else, you're keeping control of your end of things. You can't control how fast they fire a text back to you, but you don't have to be available immediately, because otherwise what happens is they then dictate to you how things are going to work. And that's not entirely fair either. And like I said, it isn't about playing a game. There's no dishonesty, nothing. It's not, oh, well, I'll show you. It's just, and I'm not even saying wait 2 days. Just give it a couple hours and then respond.
It's not, and I hate to say this because it sounds very condescending, but it's teaching each other.
Yeah. Like some patience and, yeah.
And training each other of being in a relationship with me is along these lines, and and it sounds awful.
I know it really does. It really does.
It sounds awful because it sounds like a game. It sounds like
It
manipulation.
is. It is though. Really, no matter how anyone ever wants to look at it, all dating or any relationship is both sides wrestling for control, and finding a point of comfort somewhere along the way.
It's usually one of those things of you have control here. Okay, now it's my turn to have control. Mm-hmm. Okay, now it's your turn to have control.
Right.
You're stronger in this situation.
Yeah.
You take the lead.
Well,
that type of stuff.
Not to mention, I mean, look, if you text me and I take 2 days to respond to you, and then you immediately respond, right? That tells me all I need to know about how you feel about the relationship. Mm-hmm. That tells me that basically, I mean, and if I am a player of any kind, that tells me I've probably got you around my finger a little bit.
Yep, I got you on the hook.
Immediately tells me I have control. And that's what I was saying is, like, give it a couple hours. Just don't be, and I have said this same advice to guys I don't know how many times. The guys, anyone listening who gets caught up in the good guy syndrome, listen, because this is golden advice. Never, ever, 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 unless it's an emergency type situation, text immediately back, because what you just told the person is, I'm always available. And if you're friend zoned and you feel like you're friend zoned or going to be, all that does is put you in there quicker. If you want to stay, and I'm not even saying for dating purposes, but just control, don't let somebody have that control over you. Mm-hmm. Being someone's safety net is okay, but it's not something I ever strive for in life. Like, if someone sees me as a safety net, I'm okay with it, but I never look to be the safety net. I don't want to be someone's safety net. I don't want to be the guy that they call when a guy who's a jerk to them dumps them. Mm-hmm. Not if I have any interest in that person. And this is what happens a lot with guys is you go, well, if I'm there for her, and it's like, nope. What happens is you're there for her. She sees you as a shoulder to cry on. That's it. That's what you've become. And like I said, it goes to whether you're dating someone or you're not. It's just don't do that. Don't fire that response right back. Now, it's different. If they're firing right back also, whatever, all bets are off. But if they are going out of their way to essentially dictate pace to you, maybe dictate some back.
Yep.
Just to show them, hey, maybe there's room for doubt on their end too. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to kind of put that in my head, maybe I'm going to put it back in your head a little bit too, because it's a new relationship. It's there. Like I said, I know it sounds so awful. It just sounds like a friggin' game, and it really is.
It's tough.
Even if neither side is playing with any nefarious intent, it's a game.
Right. It is. Yeah. It's always that back and forth. Even now, like, we'll joke about. My fiance and I were out with another couple on Saturday, and we were just talking because I am a crazy cat lady, and we're talking about my crazy cat stuff and things. And
you only have 2 cats. You're not a crazy cat lady.
well, I only have 2 cats, but I have a room of cat items.
You're still not a crazy cat lady. You're like in training maybe, but
Okay, crazy cat lady.
I don't know. I think you got to have like 4 cats to really be in the Padawan program for that one.
But we were joking about stuff like that, and
Yeah.
he made the comment of, he's like, he's like, I
Dang it, Skype freezing.
just get an apartment.
There you go.
Oh, did it freeze?
It froze a little bit, yeah.
But he just said maybe I should just get an apartment, joking.
Uh-huh.
And I called him on it, and I said, go ahead. And this is the first time we ever went out with this couple.
Yeah.
And the guy turns and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, no breaking up in this car. And I started laughing, like, oh no. I said, we're fine. I said, anyone who wants to leave me is welcome to leave.
Exactly, right?
But it's not in their best interest.
That's what I'm saying.
And he started laughing, and I said, "It's their loss. It's not my loss."
Yeah, it's just I will not be threatened with
exactly.
Oh, I'm gonna leave. Okay,
Trust me, I like having you here. I don't want you to leave.
Right, but I can't stop
stretch.
you. Yeah,
exactly. But if that's what you want to do, and if it make you happy,
you're an adult. I cannot stop you. You can leave if you
go. Be happy.
Yeah, I mean physically maybe I could, but I'm within reason here. I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's no reflection on how much I love him. It's no reflection on I want to spend the rest of my life with him. I want him in my life forever.
But again, you have set up that you are not going to be controlled by a threat, like kind of a thing. Right. Even though I know this is all in good fun and everything, but it's still the idea that you have, you have said, that you can be okay by yourself. It's the best thing. And I say this more because of how things work out, but it is the best thing that mothers and fathers, one of the best things they can instill in their daughters, especially. Like, anyone should have this feeling, but daughters a lot of times are still being taught that, like, you got to have a man to be successful. Marriage is still an end game. It's not to most guys, or to a lot of guys. It's viewed differently. That's kind of where I'm going with this. So, if people out there are teaching their daughters, be strong on your own. You don't need anyone else. Like, you can go be whatever. That is so powerful. Like, the fact that you're good, and if someone starts treating you like garbage or this or that, you can just be like, yeah, see ya. Like, I know I'm okay on my own. See ya.
Now, I will put a caveat. In my situation, I'm not 100% okay on my own. No. Because I have to have...
Well, you said you're a crazy cat lady, so you have to have cats. Yeah.
I have to have a free body.
Yeah.
So whether it's a cat or a dog, I do love dogs too.
Right.
Not as much as I love cats, but I'm flexible. But I cannot I cannot live anywhere that does not...
Yeah, I was meaning it more in a human sense, though.
Not have an animal.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's like I've transferred a lot of that dependency.
Yes.
Instead of on having a human with me at all times, I need to have a living being with me at all times.
I actually think you find that by a lot of people. Like, a lot of people, they tend to have animals for a variety of reasons, but I think that's a big one. Is that when you have an animal, you get a lot of things that you do get from people, from the animals. You get companionship and love and whatnot. So, but yeah.
So I will say that because as much as much as it sounds kind of like I'm a real strong, independent woman, I am in a lot of ways. I'm very independent, but the caveat being, I will not live without an animal.
That's really not.
It's not a big thing. It's not unusual.
It's really not. Yeah, I don't think it almost. I hate to even say it this way, but it almost bothers me that you put that asterisk on it because you don't need to. Like, I don't think you need to. I almost think you're discounting yourself by doing it. And I don't think you need to.
Well,
But either way, it's still the same idea that, like I said, if you do this all goes through this whole thing. Is if a person is comfortable with being, a strong person, not having to have someone in their life or whatever. Like you said, if you remove your dependency kind of things, you get so much power back in a situation.
And I think that's
power
the key. It's removing the dependency.
Yeah.
Because...
And by power, keep in mind, I'm basically saying comfort.
Yeah.
Because if you get your power back in this, you also get your peace of mind, your comfort. Because if you realize you don't need that other person, you don't have... Who cares if they text you back? If they text you back, great. If they don't, that's fine. They're lost. You keep moving forward, Yeah.
And these are not easy people. We're saying it very easily, but it's not easy.
No.
And it hurts like hell. Like, if my fiance came home and, and said, you know what, I'm getting an apartment, this isn't working for me, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I will have a very strong reaction.
Well,
it's
yeah,
not me going,
sure.
okay, deuces.
Yeah.
Don't let the door hit you. It would not be anywhere close to that.
Right.
There'd be tons of emotion, tons of anxiety, tons of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It would be horrible. But the fact is, I have to have that in my mind that if that's what they love, if I love them enough, then I have to love them enough to make the best choices for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what he feels is the best choice for him,
mm-hmm.
regardless of how horrible it is for me,
mm-hmm.
I love him enough to say, you go do you.
Right. But that's kind of what I'm saying is that you need to have that yourself.
Yes.
Like we're using your friend as an example here,
mm-hmm.
and if she goes, well, he's got to go do what he's got to do, but I also have to do what I have to do, which is not give you a week.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you a week of me going crazy that you're never going to know about or never going to see, or even if you do, whatever. It's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give someone else that much power over me. I'm going to give you a couple days, and if you don't respond, I'm going to keep moving forward. If you want to catch up to me, maybe we can work something out. But I'm not going to stop for you. Like I'm going to keep living. Kind of a thing. And I think when people can get to that level, it's not about being distant or I can't think of the word now. Like where you don't make connections with people. What I am a lot of times, where you can easily kind of just brush people away from you, kind of a thing. Because I can't think of the word now. Like
it was like disconnected.
Yeah, like you have disassociation or whatever, where you just whatever,
mm-hmm.
and you just I don't mean being indifferent, none of that kind of stuff. Just it's just a matter of looking at people and just like, I'm not gonna let you do that to me. Like I'm not gonna do this because every time I sit here and I spend a night worrying about whether you this or that, it's just a wasted day.
Yeah.
It's like for me, I do it, and listen, it's not like I'm saying I don't do it. I do this all the time. It isn't about a person. It's just about life in general to me, but it's the same idea. And I fully know I waste a lot of days looking at things.
And you gotta, and it's...
it just froze again. Jeez.
It's one of those spotlight back on you.
Yes.
It's not about when, someone gets upset or whatever. It's like, no, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me.
Right.
It's about what I want for myself.
Right.
And what I'm willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about me. And if you can't, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not bad. You're not a bad person. It's nothing to do with you.
Not at all. Sometimes one ship is just moving at a faster pace than another ship.
Exactly.
And they can't be a fleet. That's just the way it is,
It happens. It's life. That's the way the world works sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's fine. And I think that's a very important point.
Yep.
Because, a lot of times, you end up in those situations where the other person's like, I didn't know this was happening. What can I do to fix it? What can I do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can change some things.
It keeps freezing like right as you're about to.
Sometimes they don't. Oh,
yeah. It keeps freezing like right as you're about to make your point, like every time. Like Skype doesn't.
Yeah,
Skype does not want you to deliver points.
Does not want me to talk. but, it may not be in their best interest
Mm-hmm.
to compromise
Yeah.
to suit you in
Right.
those particular places, and it may not be your place, the best interest for you
Well,
to compromise to suit them.
Take this guy, for instance. Maybe he's not a guy who is a texter. Maybe he looks at things and goes, this isn't me. This isn't going to become me. So we have to, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
now,
we've got to
granted,
figure this out or part ways.
Now, granted, that would, to me, that's on him to point that out. Like, hey, I'm not a big texter, so what? Blah blah. But again, that all goes with communication. Which, if you don't communicate well from day one, you might as well not bother because it's not going to get better. You know.
And so it gets tricky. I mean, relationships are always very difficult and very tricky. And there's always mistakes made on everybody's part.
Yeah. And again, like we've said countless times on here, it's like, if you know somebody's got mental health issues, there's so much information out there now that seriously, if you're with somebody and they tell you, hey, I deal with depression, go online and look. Just go look it up. Just go on WebMD and type in depression or bipolar or anxiety or whatever it is. Even if you think you understand it, you honestly, unless you go through it, you probably don't. Unless you've somehow been close. But try, just jump on and then a lot of times, like the stuff we read on here, like what Jen read today, that stuff's all over the internet. Like things to not say to blah blah blah, things to blah blah, to do if there's all those kind of things, so you can find ways to help you understand and be part of their lives, and help you communicate with them.
Now the asterisk is, make sure you talk, whatever you read and whatever you see and stuff, make sure you talk to that person as well.
Yeah.
Because not everything's going to be applicable.
Absolutely.
For them.
Yeah, and depression's different from person to person. There's common threads, but my depression's not the same as this person because mine may be worse or or just different. May not be worse, just different. So
it's just, and it's again communication and finding those balances. Now an actual article that I saw that again had some really cool points is this one. It's on Elite Daily, and the title is 20 Struggles You Go Through When You Date Someone with Anxiety. So I'm going to read this because it kind of is a good beginning to it. Dating anyone is a challenge. Relationships aren't easy and take a lot of work. We all know this, but there is a special kind of challenge involved when it comes to dating someone with anxiety. When an anxiety spell is coming on, there is no reason to siphon. There's no way to siphon. There's no way to calm down till you just do calm down. It's something that can't be controlled, and it can be very overwhelming for both parties. As someone who has been dealing with an anxiety disorder for most of my life, I can understand the baggage that my boyfriends are taking on as a result. I've come to terms with what I have on my plate, but I never stop to take a moment to appreciate and comprehend the struggles involved with making a relationship work from the other person's perspective. All that you can do is muster up every last drop of empathy you can and accept the person you love for the way he or she is. Because regardless of his or her challenges with anxiety, he or she is still really great. Here are 20 very real struggles of dating someone with anxiety. A to-do list is never optional, and nothing on the list can be undone. If you want to have a rewarding partnership with someone who is dealing with regular anxiety, it's important to understand that this person's day-to-day life comes with a set of list of tasks that need to be completed. Freaking out that you aren't getting enough attention or that your partner is taking his or her responsibility too seriously will only frustrate the both of you and lead to resentment. No. The only way there will be peace is if your partner has completed everything that she or he needs to do.
I'm not entirely sure I 100% agree with that, but
I'm not 100% on that one either.
Like that one's one where you work with the person and see, I don't buy into that one because not everybody with anxiety does to-do lists. Don't get me wrong.
It's a little bit more compulsion than it is anxiety.
Yeah, it can. Don't get me wrong. It can severely help. It's a tool people with anxiety can use, but like me, I've been told to cut my to-do list down to manageable, very manageable ones. So even then, I don't know. The goal is to try to get them done. It isn't that you have to, because if you go, I have to do all these things every day, you become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And again, with anxiety,
anxiety linked to obsessive compulsiveness.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a good place. So anyway, you can keep going. I just wanted to kind of point that out. That's like, that one I don't know how much I agree with, but
yeah, that one's not even more. That's more of a specific than a universal, I would think.
Yeah.
No, number 2, you need to learn to read a room like a pro. It is essential that you know when your partner's freaking out and needs to be left alone, and when he or she needs to be held and comforted. These moods will vary, and the only way to ensure you two are happy is knowing when you're needed and when you aren't. That's a big communication. And as you get in a relationship and further along in a relationship, you start to see it more instinctively.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, a lot of that is communication. You gotta clue the person in on what you need.
Yeah. Well, there is a good element. I like the read the room part, because there's a lot of truth in that. Like, if the person you're with is standing across the room and you see them, their body language basically is saying uncomfortable, go make them comfortable. Go try to be, help them feel comfortable, kind of a thing. Like, I think there's an element of that if you just pay attention, there's that. But I think this is a really strong, that one I really agree with.
That's why, I mean, I'm a big one of, like Hanno said in the beginning, is set the ground rules. And, and when the rules change, reset the rules.
Yeah.
Like I've said before on here, I have issues with big crowds.
Yeah.
And whoever I'm with, I always tell them in advance. I'm like, just so you know, I have issues with crowds. My clue to you that I'm having anxiety is I'm going to link my arm with yours.
Yeah.
And all that I need from you is I just need you to kind of be a strong force next to me.
Yeah.
If I'm linking my arm with you, that just means that I need to be grounded.
Yep.
And you're my grounding point.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You're the comfort zone. Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's you don't need to say anything, do anything.
Yep.
Nothing's expected. I just want you to understand, where that's coming from, and what may happen.
Yeah.
Done. So it can be something as simple as that. But people that I'm with that are used to me, and understand me better, it's instinctual. I don't even have to say it. If I come up to somebody and I link arms with them, I've got some friends that just automatically put their arm around me.
Yeah. Or
they give me a hug. Or, it's just like, boom, it's the unspoken, we completely get each other. They know that's what I need. So, it's stuff like that. It's just getting to that point sometimes requires communication. But the next one is, you never judge when it comes to self-medication. Anxiety comes with a host of anti-anxiety medication. You're not the one inside of your partner's head, so you can't dictate how much or how little medication he or she needs. Sure, your partner won't always get the amount right, but it's not for you to judge, only be supportive. Kind of goes with the long lines of what we said earlier, which is, don't ever ask someone if they've taken their meds today, or, if someone is consistently struggling, you may suggest that they go talk to their doctor again.
Yeah.
That maybe something's not quite working the way it should.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with this for the most part, but if you think someone, like if you see somebody self-medicating, like whatever they're, and this doesn't even have to be any sort of a drug or whatever, but if they do things that you can go, that's not helping you, like that's harmful, like that's allowing your depression to fester or your anxiety to fester, I think I don't have a problem with somebody saying something. I think they should.
Oh yeah, I think they say self-medicated, and I took that in a different way.
Yeah.
If you're self-medicating with substances that are not prescribed by a doctor, be it legal, illegal, doesn't matter. But if you are self-medicating using that stuff and someone steps in...
Yeah. Well, because look, a lot of people view self-medicating as, like, for people with anxiety, right? Like, hey, just knock a shot of whiskey back before you go somewhere.
Right.
Now you're nice and calm, right? Okay, well, okay, sure, whatever. Let's say that's fine with you. You're like, whatever. Well, now you notice that they're drinking half a bottle of wine before they go do something. Or, you know what I mean? Like, is this becoming a problem? Like, I think there's a line there, like... I think at a certain point, if you go, I think you're hurting yourself here. I don't think you're helping yourself, or you're making a crutch out of something. You're not actually dealing with it. You're just making a crutch out of something else. I think at that point you say something, but otherwise I kind of agree. Like, don't judge. No matter what, don't judge. But if you see someone basically being harmful to themselves with what they perceive as self-medicating, I think you owe it to them as a friend or a spouse or whatever. I think you should say something.
Yeah, it's I think more along lines of questioning.
Yeah. Versus judging. Yeah.
Judging. Yeah. So, the next one, everything is the end of the world. Even the smallest of things can stress people with anxiety out and override their nerves. Whether it's picking up the dry cleaning, finishing a project for work, or making a call to their doctor, just the thought of having to deal with it makes their heart races. While you might be tempted to give the world's biggest eye roll, you need to refrain. I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's a judgment thing again.
Yeah, like, try not to judge.
Yeah.
Try to you don't have to understand, you just have to accept.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept that is their world. That is, in their mind, that is what it is.
This kind of fits with that whole, like when somebody will tell you how bad something is, and you're like, oh, it could be so much worse. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, but it could be so much better. It depends on which side of the coin you're looking at it through. And when you're on the things are awful side, it doesn't take much to go from things suck to this again. This is never going to end. It's really easy once you already have that mindset to just go further down that rabbit hole. But again, don't judge. Like I think that's going to be the overwhelming key through most of these, probably.
And a lot of it is.
Yeah.
I mean, number 5 is you will always have a drinking buddy, but hangovers are 10 times worse. He said, yeah, you dread the next day because it's never a good one for anxiety. Alcohol provokes the symptoms of anxiety. Mm-hmm. While your partner might feel better during said night out, the next day is sure to be a trip for his or her nerves. Herbal tea and long walks can be lifesavers on hectic days. I think, we've talked about emotion hangovers and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I think everything,
we've touched that before.
Yeah, everything's got its place too. Listen, I've known people who have a pretty rough anxiety, and just once in a while it's kind of going out and getting blotto is kind of their way of letting go of all the anxiety and the control. Like, they just go out and just surrender to the alcohol, basically. If you do it all the time, it's a problem. If you do it just once, it's just like, what, I just want to go blah. I don't know. I don't have a big problem with it, kind of a thing.
And you just have to be understanding that that it's not a traditional hangover the next day.
Like, if I'm going to go out and do that, I fully know that the next day I'm going to feel awful. It's...
Yeah. It's not the alcohol's effect.
No, well, it's probably
sometimes
both.
Sometimes it is, but
sometimes
it's not.
Yeah, because you have mental fatigue with But they're right. Alcohol does feed depression and anxiety both. Mm-hmm. So, sparingly. Don't use it as a cure or a crutch or... don't use it as the everyday cure, And it is going to be more for a person with anxiety. It's going to be a bigger situation than it is for someone without. It just is. Also, I'd like to point out that if you're on medication for anxiety and you do go imbibe, you can basically slingshot yourself the opposite way.
And I will tell everybody, I still drink, but... some of my medicines that I'm on, my doctors have both told me that alcohol takes the place of the medicine in my bloodstream. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing that goes. Yep. So when alcohol kicks out any medicine that I have in my system, it blows it right out of my system. Mm-hmm. So that medicine takes about 3 days to build back up.
Yeah. And it doesn't take very much alcohol to do that. Like, it's not like, if you go out and drink 25 beers, of course it's not going to... No, they're talking... What did they tell you? Like 2 or 3? Like, no more than, 2, I think?
Yeah. They said none is perfect.
Right.
But if you have as much as 2... Yeah. It'll take the medicine out of your system. It'll take 3 days for the medicine to build back up to the right levels.
Right. So you do have to kind of weigh it there. That
exactly
is that one night worth 3 days kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of I understand what's going on, and my fiance understands what's going on, that, the next 3 days I might be a little kookier than usual,
Yeah.
just because, it's just, I got, my body's got to get readjusted.
Yep.
So, this person can be really manic and overwhelming. Living with people with anxiety isn't easy. Sometimes when they're feeling especially anxious, they can be exhausting, talk extremely fast, and have scattered thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's best if you just try and listen as best as you can to remain calm until this bout passes. It's very true. Mm-hmm. It goes right into number 8. Is if he or she is in the middle of something, not to speak. While mid-task, people with anxiety are not to be interrupted. Their train of thought is set on something, and it needs to be finished before they can pay attention to you. Yeah. I mean, both things are very fair when it comes to me.
Yeah. I understand that last one, but that one, I'm not, yeah. I get what they're saying, but I'm not a fan of necessarily that. I know what they're saying.
It all depends upon where I'm at.
Right.
If I'm in the middle of an anxiety streak, like really bad, there is no stopping me.
Yeah.
You just gotta let me go.
Right.
Just let me expand it out, and once I'm at the end, then we can talk about it and whatever. But sometimes you just gotta let me go.
Yeah. I think my issue stems from that if you let somebody that's having a real bad anxiety issue just keep going and going kind of a thing, they are feeding themselves. So sometimes you need to disrupt the cycle to end the cycle, to help. So that's why it's like, I fully get what they're saying, and I know what you're saying. It's just, I don't know. Again, I think it's the situation, Yeah.
This is a good one. This kind of ranks right in there. There's no talking this person out of a freak out. There isn't rhyme or reason involved in an anxiety disorder. When a panic attack comes no amount of saying everything's okay or calm down is going to make it stop.
Right.
Accusing this person of being dramatic or rational will only make things worse.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yep.
I mean, it's like telling someone with depression to smile. Someone with anxiety, telling them to calm down.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Right.
It ranks right up there. It's just, it'll instigate more than it will help.
Right.
The best thing you can do is, honestly, is be a teddy bear. Is just stand there, sit there next to them, let them go do their thing, hug them if they let you, and just be there. Mm-hmm. And then after the fact, talk about it and stuff like that. But while in the midst of it, you kind of just gotta let the person go.
Yeah.
Don't hurt themselves, of course, and if they start going too far, like you said, you kind of have to interrupt the cycle sometimes. Mm. But for the most part, you just kind of have to let it go.
Yeah.
You can't act like you pity him or her.
Yeah.
Don't pity them.
Right.
It's tough not to. Because you want to help and stuff, and you can't, and you just feel bad, and you want to do something, and a lot of times it can come across as pity, but you got to really resist that. Mm-hmm. You need to learn to embrace it. Don't hate or perpetuate. The only way to have a successful relationship with a person who struggles with anxiety is to try to love him or her regardless of his or her condition. In fact, you'll have to learn to love him or her because of it. If you can embrace this part of his or her personality as a quirk, you'll be better off.
Yeah. That's going to be really difficult to classify as a quirk, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know what they're getting at, but...
With me, I know a lot of people, because I do talk a lot, and I have a tendency to get, when I get amped up, my thoughts don't come as fast as my mouth works. So I can stumble over things, or I can't get my thoughts and my words coordinated enough. So I'll kind of, gets a little jumbled or a little whatever. And most people who learn to love me despite of those things or because of those things, they all work with me on it.
Yeah.
There's a universal sign that everybody uses. They take their hand, they put it horizontal, and they move it down. That's usually the universal sign for tone it down.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting too loud.
Yeah.
Or people will put their hand up on the stop because I'm talking so much. They're like, stop.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, and stuff like that, and we kind of laugh about it and things, but people have learned to kind of embrace it. It's just part of me. That's just, it is. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what they're getting at. You just kind of have to find those things.
Right.
But you have to write it out because there's no cure. Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about that earlier.
Yep.
Sometimes you want to give advice, but you just have to listen.
Mm-hmm. Which that honestly,
that
just goes to a lot of things though. A lot of times when people are like, if somebody calls you up and they're crying or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is going on. It's like they don't want advice. They just want the ear,
Yeah.
And like somebody going through anxiety attack, it isn't so much, you don't want advice. You just want the comfort of them being there probably more than you want anything. So it's the same
and a
idea.
lot of it is just, you got to get it out of your head.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that many times to people. It's like, this is all the stuff's in my head. I just have to dump it. I've got to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
And thankfully you're here to listen.
Right.
I said, just listen, and I got to blow it all out, and then I'll be good. It's not intentional, so you can't get mad. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
It's very difficult because I'm sure it's incredibly maddening.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have so much patience, and I'm sure the patience runs very, very, very thin sometimes. But you got to really fight to try not to get mad at the person.
Yeah.
If you need to get mad at the illness, get mad at the situation.
Yeah.
But try very hard not to get mad at the person because they cannot control it.
I was just going to say, actually, I think that actually is you can use that as a blanket to people with mental illnesses.
Yeah, but honestly, with any illness, especially mental illness, but any illness.
That's one. Yeah, it's just you can't get mad because they can't go because they they're too depressed or it's just, I think that's like you said. It's just if you want to hate anything, hate the illness.
Mm-hmm. Exactly,
for what it's done to your friend or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing is you can't talk down to a person. Yeah, it goes along with everything else we kind of talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But this, they wrote, they aren't acting this way to be childish or to get attention. They just have a condition, and they need to deal with it so they can move on with their day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's very accurate and very fair.
Yeah.
Let me see. Doing the smallest things will always be appreciated. People with anxiety will adore even the tiniest of favors because they tend to become overwhelmed so easily. When you know they're freaking out, even them making a cup of tea comes with the highest of thanks.
Mm.
So one of the nicest things about them is they never will take you for granted.
Right.
Now, steer clear of weed and cocaine. These two substances are triggers, and it won't take you long to realize that they should be off the table at all costs. Weed makes them paranoid, and coming down from cocaine leaves their serotonin and dopamine shot and vulnerable to an episode, which is nothing you want to deal with.
Right.
The whole pot one, I'm not sure because I know pot can lead to paranoia, but that's not necessarily 100% the case with a lot of people.
Right.
So I think pot can be beneficial with anxieties because it does calm you.
Yeah.
But it's knowing the person and knowing what they can handle.
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to stuff like that, it becomes a case by case kind of a thing, and and you'd have to talk to if it's legal in your state, you have to talk to a reputable doctor, not just some random doctor that's willing to prescribe weed.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you went to a podiatrist and got a weed prescription, huh?
Right.
Yeah, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. My kitty cat came up and gave me a hug. He must feel that I'm in need of hugs. So, but that being said, I think this one had some really good points on it and stuff. And a lot of the things that we've talked about today seem to be pretty across the board universal. And a lot of people, even if you don't have mental illness, I think it really can relate. Like there's nuggets in there that can be really applicable to most situations.
Right.
So I was really impressed with a lot of that stuff that I was reading and how insightful it was, and really gave me quite a few aha moments.
Yeah.
So, Well, that being said, I think we're way over, aren't we?
Yeah, we're a little bit over. Yep.
Yeah, kind of figured as much. But good talks and good subjects need more time, shall we say.
Right.
Well, that being said, I think we're ready to wrap up. You good?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, if you want to continue the conversation, everybody can reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. Please let me know you're out there. I love hearing from everybody. I love hearing what's going on in your lives, any tips that you have, any subjects you want us to talk about. I love the interaction. So please reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from you. Now, you can also reach out to the show at the Crazy Life podcast at outlook.com.
Yep.
The Crazy Life podcast.weebly.com.
Yep.
And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
They can also reach the show or see when we put out new episodes on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other show at salty_language. And if you want to get episodes of that, you can go to saltylanguage.com, or, the same way that you found this show, Stitcher, iTunes, however you find, podcasts, where we're probably listed in it. I'm just blanking now myself.
Yeah.
The intro song was done by our friend Heno. You can find him on Twitter at IdaHeno. And also over at Angela's Awesome Podcast. Again, you should be able to find them in the same way you found us. Or if you look at the show notes for the episode, I have the link to Angela's blog, which has links to the podcast and her blog and everything all on it. So you can find it there as well. And, I'm forgetting. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, the networks we're part of. Tangent-Bound Network and Wicked Radio Network. So go check out both of those. There's some really great shows on both of them, and
and great people.
Yeah, I was going to say, and a lot of great people associated with those shows. And then I feel like I'm forgetting a whole thing other than the whole, we're not trained therapists, doctors, any of that stuff. Just two people dealing with mental illnesses and sharing our experiences. If you do need real help, please go seek out help. And again, if money is an issue, check with your Department of Human Services, or just, jump on the internet and check out stuff in your area. There may be support groups and stuff you can get part of that are free or something. And then, of course, if you're thinking of suicide or those kind of thoughts, please contact the suicide hotline number, or, contact someone. Just, please don't do that. That's not a good answer.
Yep. There's always a choice. And I will challenge you, and I will dare you to contact me and tell me a situation where there is no choice. And I will argue that the day is long. There's always a choice. And when there's a choice, you can make it. So just got to take control. Things don't just happen to you. You have to take the control and make the choice of what's going to happen. So, that being said, everybody, have a fabulous week. Claim your wins. We're going to start claiming our wins more here. We completely have gotten away from it, and I think that's very important. So, definitely, 100%, claim your wins. Post them out on Twitter. Post them out on Facebook. Let people know, these are the wins that I've done today. These are the things that I'm proud of.
And Skype freezes
for the world to see.
And Skype freezes as you make your last point of the night.
Skype hates me.
Of course.
All right. Well, it's telling me I need to go to bed, obviously. So, good night, all, and I will talk at you next week.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Congratulations! Hi, my name is Mark, and your side quest is over. That's right, your mission has been completed. You found this podcast. Whether you rolled that D20 or you did that whole up, down, left, right, select, start, whatever combination, Konami code that was. I can't remember. I'm old. Leave me alone. Anyway, you're probably listening to this on a mobile device. iOS, Android, Windows. But did you also know that you can find this show along with so many others like it? Although admittedly there are no shows quite like this one. Believe me, I know. I've looked. But you can always find the latest episode of this show at Tangibound Network. Go to tangiboundnetwork.com, look it up, check it out, listen from the site. It's even mobile friendly. How awesome is that? Go check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com.